Jimmy Butler went from being a homeless kid to being the final pick in the draft and helping both the Bulls in their attempt to reach the championship as well as through some of their late struggles. After that, he ends up going to both the 76ers and the Timberwolves and is labeled as a locker room menace, a man that ruins locker rooms. With the Timberwolves, they moved on from him because Karl Anthony Towns and him just weren't meshing well together. And as we now see, Karl Anthony Towns seems to consistently have problems with other guys that are competing for that number one spot on the team and consistently likes to complain about calls and other things and doesn't take a lot of responsibility. With the 76ers, it was between Jimmy Butler and Ben Simmons. There was an issue between those two, and the organization ends up choosing Ben Simmons and moves on from Jimmy Butler. And as we all see now, Ben Simmons caused so many issues that he was also traded and moved on from the 76ers. And now, with the Miami Heat, Jimmy Butler has really turned his entire career around and shown that he is a leader and an incredible person to have in your locker room. So I think it's kind of time that we take a little bit of a overall look at Jimmy Butler's career and just this past few seasons with the Heat and how he's presented himself as a leader of a contending team and why Jimmy Butler really wasn't the issue. Never was the issue. So, if this is your first time on the channel, my name is John. This is the Sports Advocate. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you enjoy this content, give me a like. Also, give me some criticism down below because I'm really trying to improve for you guys. And if you really enjoy this content or you're coming back on a daily basis anyways, go ahead and subscribe. It's really noticed and appreciated. And like I said, I have daily content about NFL, NBA, and NHL. But let's not waste any more of your time. Let's go ahead and get right into this. First things first, let's talk about what just happened. Jimmy Butler led the Heat to the Eastern Conference Finals, and I will say Jimmy Butler led this team because not only was Kyle Lowry injured, and when he was playing, he wasn't playing at peak potential. Bam Adebayo was really struggling when he was on the court. Tyler Hero was in and out of the lineup with injuries, ends up missing Game 7. This team really had nothing but Jimmy Butler, and they make the Eastern Conference Finals. They were the number one seed in the East, and Jimmy Butler really showed how great he was. Jimmy Butler had 4 40-point games, including a 47-point masterclass in Game 7 against the Boston Celtics, in which he really pushed them to the win. Not only did he have 4 40-point games, but those were all in this last series in the Eastern Conference Finals to push them forward into the finals, and they end up missing by 1 game and by only about 5-6 points, and that all comes due to a shot that Jimmy Butler took that a lot of people like to argue was a bad shot. But when you're the person that takes your team that far and you see an opportunity and you want to take that lead, I'm not going to say that's a bad shot. I'm going to say you're confident and you are the reason why this team's in this position. So you taking that shot, completely fine with. But not only that, but 12 games out of these playoffs, he had 2 or more steals. 12 games out of, 17, I want to say? So he's having 2 or more steals, which is way, way, way in the top echelon of defensive players. And he's doing that in 12 games in the playoffs in the most crucial point of the season. Not only that, but he has multiple games where he had 2 or more blocks. Big part of it. He had nearly a 5x5 in the Eastern Conference Finals in one game where he had, 4 steals, 9 rebounds or something, 10 assists or 8 assists, and 3 blocks. Just almost had a 5x5. This guy was incredible all year round, but it wasn't just this year. So let's not overlook it. Let's not have the recency bias overload. Let's look at some previous years. 2019, 2020, the bubble year, they end up making the finals, and they go against LeBron and the Lakers. Yes, they end up losing, but now they made the finals, which was a surprise to many people. Jimmy Butler had 2 triple-doubles in the finals. In a 6-game series, he had 2 triple-doubles. He only had 1 double-double in the playoffs that year to that point. Only 1 double-double, no other triple-doubles, and he had 2 triple-doubles in the finals. And he was playing incredible. He was the number one guy. He was working his butt off. He played the entire game multiple times in that series, and he was so tired. I mean, we all know the infamous photo And maybe I'll try and have that pop up right here. But the infamous photo of him leaning over, just exhausted. Jimmy Butler put it all out there because he works so hard. But not only has he done it in this past year and in 2019-2020, but let's look at some other stats. He's in the playoffs. He has played a full game 8 times, a full game, 48 minutes with no breaks or more. In case you go to overtime, that'd be 53. He's done that 8 times in the playoffs. He's only missed 4 playoff games, 3 of them coming early on in his career when he wasn't a starter. So he's only missed 1 game, and it was this past year or something. It's very recently. He's only missed 1 game when he was a starter in his entire career in the playoffs. He's never once fouled out. He's always there for the team when they need him most. He's 18 games scoring 30 or more points, and he's 15 double-doubles. So this is no surprise. He's been doing this type of stuff consistently over and over again in the playoffs, and been a key reason why his teams have taken it so far and been to the finals and been to the Eastern Conference Finals and helped the Bulls, 76ers, and Timberwolves. And he's really shown his leadership in his ability to just take over and help the rest of the team's morale lift. But, let's do a little bit of a deep dive here. Let's talk about why he's so consistent, why he is able to do what he's doing on another level in the playoffs every single year. And it seems like he always steps up when it comes to playoff time. Some players, James Harden, some people like to say, take a step down. They regress a little bit when they make playoffs. But Jimmy Butler always takes a step forward year after year. All of his stats seem to rise when it comes to playoff time. And let's take a little deep dive. And first, let's talk about the key, point that this video is going to likely be named after. Jimmy Butler was not the problem. He wasn't. He's shown that he can be a leader with this Heat team. He has taken over. He's taken Tyler Hero underneath his wing. Bam is really close with him. Jimmy was probably the prime reason why Kyle Lowry ends up coming to this team. Jimmy's a clear leader. When people are out, he's taking over. And even in 2019-2020, if you're playing every single minute of a game, everyone's going to look up and be like, hey, that guy's putting all out there for us. And that's what a leader does. That's what a leader does. And even back when he was with the Bulls his last season, yes, he had Rondo, yes, he had D-Wade, and he was younger than them, but he still was in that kind of leader role, even with those old guys that knew what they were doing. He was the guy that people came to when there was things going wrong, when there was questions to be asked. Yes, he went and seeked out that older veteran talent to ask questions to, but some of the other guys, when the younger guys were coming to Jimmy and being like, hey, what's the plan right here? What are we doing? And he's always kind of been that leader, and he was labeled as this menace in the locker room with the 76ers and the Timberwolves. And like we kind of covered, it seems like the people that he always had problems with are the actual problem. Ben Simmons got moved on because he wasn't there for the team, and he wasn't stepping up in the right instances, and he was doing exactly what Jimmy Butler was getting him after for. He wasn't stepping up. He wasn't doing what the team needed. And as we saw last year, the year before this one, in the playoffs, where he just completely disappeared, and he was like never shooting anything. He was having 2 to 6 points every game, and it was like, what is going on? That's exactly what Jimmy Butler was going after him for. And it ends up they move on from Jimmy, and they keep Ben Simmons because they think they see something in him. And now Ben Simmons is off the team. For the Timberwolves, Karl Anthony Towns seemed to be the main reason, and as we saw this playoff series, it seemed like every single call that wasn't his way he was complaining about and whining almost. And even these guys that he has on his team now, Anthony Edwards and Russell, although he seems buddy-buddy with them, it always seems a little bit intense at times. He won't move the ball to them even if they're open because he wants to be that number one guy. Seems like both instances where he was labeled as that menace, we've come to find out that really the issues might have been within the whole time. And with the Bulls, as we see over time, there's reports that, there's guys that really had angst against him. I think that's the right word. And maybe didn't, see eye to eye with him at all times with the Bulls. But that's what happens when you're competing at top level and you want to make that championship. You're going to, go at people. I mean, look at Jordan and Pippen and Rodman. They were always fighting and they were working through it, though. Yes, you could argue that maybe they hate each other at times, But at the same time, look at what they did. That's something that's going to happen when you're competing for championships is there's going to be fights and battles. And I don't think it was all on Jimmy. We've seen with the Heat now, he is one of the best leaders in the entire organization. And a lot of people like to talk very good reports about him. When D Rose talks about him, yes, there's some, we had some struggles with the Bulls, but normally there's like, hey, he's an incredibly hard worker and everything. People have good things to say about Jimmy. It's just sometimes when you're competing and you're like Jimmy Butler, who always wants to compete at the highest level and make the finals, and maybe he hasn't had that opportunity, he's going to butt heads because he wants to make it there, and maybe people aren't putting in enough effort. But let's do a little bit of a dive into how he plays and how he's so consistent. Let's start with the offense side of the ball, and he's very smooth and fluent with his play, but he really uses his quickness incredibly well. He's incredible quick first step that always leads to blow-bys, his little hesitation, and then he tucks his shoulder and goes right underneath you, and he goes straight line directly down to the paint, leads to easy layups and all that stuff. And oftentimes, if someone else is closing a lane, which will happen because they know what Jimmy Butler's capable of, he's still able to find that open man for a three-pointer like Tyler Hero and guys like that, Kyle Lowry. He's able to use his quick first step, his fast takeoff, and his vertical even to finish at the rim. He's a simple, slow developing play. I love his ability he takes it down the court, and his basketball IQ allows him to, slow down and analyze things and make it look like he's about to pass, and then just take it again and, put it up. There's plays where you see him on quick fast breaks where he's dribbling the ball and you'll see him kind of look down the ball like he's about to pick it up, and then he'll just continue and everyone's left confused and stuff. And even speaking of transition, he's very good at filling in the lanes, whether he gets a steal and now he's coming up behind, or if someone else gets a steal and he's the leader, he always fills a lane that he sees open. He takes a little bit slow as he's running, he sees the lane open, and then he guns it, and he finds a really, really good opening. But he doesn't need to dribble to make space all the time. His ability to, use his body, his eyes and stuff to make you second guess and make space is incredible. He has simple dribbles. He doesn't need to do all these fancy dribble moves in between legs and crossovers like Steph Curry and Kyrie to make space. He uses his eyes. He looks at the ball. Maybe you think he's about to pass, and he goes around you. Or he's running full speed, and then he slows down like he thinks that the paint's going to be closed off, and then he goes again. Or sometimes he uses a little bit of like a slower, pass-through move, rip-through move, and he is analyzing the court as he's doing it. Does he have to pass it? Does he need a screen? And if he sees people are moving out of the paint as he's doing it, then he just uses that first step to get right around somebody. And he's very, very good at using his eyes and his body and his shoulder control to make openings without having to do all this dribble work. But he still can. He can still use his dribble work to do something. Not only has he improved his step back into threes or normal jump shots, he's improved his step back. It's just simple, one back, and he uses it very well. He has a very, very good spin move that he uses, a lot in the mid-range, oftentimes leading into a fadeaway. And even he likes to use a jab step into a cross, or even he'll sometimes go, here. He'll swap his feet a couple times like this, and then jab, and then go like this. Even though he doesn't have to dribble a lot, he still uses simple moves that you've probably been taught a million times in high school and college ball if you ended up making him to that point. He uses these simple moves and still creates incredible space, such as the spin move and all this stuff, but he still knows how to dribble if he needs to make space with the between legs and things like that. But he's incredibly efficient at the rim, whether it's dunking, alley-oops, or layups in fast break transition, or, in the half-court offense. He's very, very good at finding openings and making the layup, whether it's of his own use or getting an assist. And he uses his long strides, and although he's incredibly fast, whether it's, in the half-court offense or in transition, he can really speed up. And then he uses a long strides to slow himself down and get you kind of worried and jumping and he'll use like a Euro or things like that to just really slow down the play and then go up smoothly and lay it off the backboard or directly in if he's going for a dunk. He uses his quickness as well as his slow, fluent play all in one, and it works very, very well for him. He's crafty at the rim in those circumstances where he's slowing down. He can take it off the backboard. He can go reverse. He can dunk it, all this stuff. And he has a very, very good broad jump. Oftentimes you'll see him take it from maybe outside of the paint or at the top of the key. And if he's outside the paint on this side, he's still able to make his way over and get a reverse layup just from a long, broad jump. But going back to, some of his fadeaways and his spin moves, he's extremely good at the fadeaway. And yes, it's a very common shot, maybe not as much as it used to be because people have implemented the step back, but he shoots 46% on fadeaways, which is a very, very good number. A good shooting percentage is 40, 50, 90. 40, 3-point, like incredible percentage, I should say. This is like the top of the top. 40, 50, 90, and he's shooting 46% on fadeaways, which is a very, very good number, and that's a pretty tough shot to make. Not only are you falling backwards to create space, but oftentimes they're still able to contest a little bit, and as you're falling back, you're not exactly sure who's behind you or where you're going to land, and shooting 46% is very, very good, but he also has very good ball, off-ball movement. Whether he doesn't need to have the ball in his hands, he can still cut across his defender's face, or if he's underneath the paint, he can just come out and box out, and he'll find easy, simple shots because that you'll oftentimes see him get a layup, just a quick cut in front of his man, and he'll get an easy layup. He's incredible on the off-ball movement. And speaking of, finishing at the rim, whether he has the ball in his hand before or not, he's a 62% last season at the rim, which top guys at the rim normally are centers, and they're at like the 70% mark when they're at the rim. And Jimmy is small forward, shooting guard, depending on the year, shooting 62% last year at the rim. Dunks, alley-oops, layups, all this stuff. He's very good finger rolls. He's very good at the rim at finishing it. Through contact or not, he's very good at finishing the play, which is something that you have to give props to the man for. But, with his ability to finish at the rim and his ability to, knock down these mid-ranges, which he has a smooth mid-range. I don't remember if I said this. His mid-range, he shoots 38% at the mid-range, which is a very, very good number. As you can see, his fadeaway is better than his normal mid-range of 46% versus 38%. But you got to remember, it's a little bit easier to contest a mid-range. Also, mid-range, you're not creating as much space, and you're only catching and shooting that with your guy close to you in your face, stuff like that. But he, although he has a great ability to make off-ball plays and find openings, on 60% of his scoring, he is unassisted. Means 60% of the time that he's going to score, it's just him. No one passed him the ball, and then he gets some. He's going to create his own shots 60% of the time, which is a very, very, very good number. A lot of times these top guys that you're seeing, they're still assisted on a good portion, over 50% of their plays, and Jimmy's only assisted on 40%. He's very good at making his own plays. But, we've talked a lot of percentages about this year and his overall offensive play, but let's look at his total career percentage. So from rookie year to now, he's consistent. He has a 46% field goal percentage, just barely under 50%. And you got to remember that we're going from rookie all the way, so his up years and his down years. He's at 46% field goal percentage. He's 50% from the two-point range, which is a very, very good percentage. Like I said, 50, 40, 90 is very good. He's 50% from two-point range. He's 32% from the three-point range. He has struggled at times. This year he was at 22%. He's a 32% from three through his entire career. He's not phenomenal at it, but when he needs to knock them down and he has an opening to knock them down in transition or by himself, he has the ability to do so. And yes, he did miss a very important three-pointer in this last game that he played. But, his ability to lead his team, I think he deserved to take that shot. That's it. I covered that a little bit before, and everyone else is nitpicking that shot. I'm not opposed to that shot at all. He's 32% from three-point range. altogether, and he's 84% from free throw range. And not only that, he was one of the only few people to average over 8 free throws this past year with all of the new rules, as well as he's consistently averaging about 6 or 7 free throws per game, which is a very, very good number. His ability to make layups and shots through contact leads to more free throws, and even his ability to get directly into his defender, which he likes to do when he's cutting or in transition. He'll go directly into the defender while he's shooting to get his free throw shots, and he's not afraid of that contact at all. But let's talk about something that, everyone knows he's good at, but maybe doesn't get as much respect as he deserves, and that's his defense. He's one of the best two-way players in the entire league, and he's one of the best defenders in the entire league. Not only this past year, not this one currently, but the one prior, he led the entire league in steals. This year, he was also very, very good at it. Like I said, 12 I lost it now. Yeah, 12 games this year in the playoffs where he had 2 or more steals, which is a very, very good number. But on his entire career, he has 1.6 steals per game, which is, you do that in a single season, and you're probably up there, like very, very high in the steals per game category, and he's doing that through his entire career. But not only that, he has incredible basketball IQ on the defense side of things as well as the offensive side of things. But his ability to read passes, he likes to face towards the ball, which is something that you're not normally taught. You're taught to be in the middle. So ball's here, and my guy's here. You're kind of taught to be in the middle. He'll straight up just face the ball, and he uses it very well, and he'll read plays as they're occurring and jump a passing lane, and he's very, very good at that. And he's also very good at closing off these driving lanes, whether it's off of a screen and getting in the way or in transition, he's able to get in front. But his ability to jump lanes and analyze the play as it's occurring is just incredible. He's so good and fluent at watching the play develop and seeing that, oh, my guy or someone else's guy is about to get open here. I'm going to allow them to get open, knowing what's going to happen, so I can jump in front of the ball as it's occurring. And he uses his long reach, and he'll use that outside arm to just tip it enough where he doesn't catch it. He just tips it so that he can use his quick speed to run and retrieve it before the other guys can, and then get that easy layup in transition. He's extremely good at jumping the passing lanes and using his reach to get to it, or at least disrupt the play. If he can't steal the ball, the play always gets slightly messed up, and there's a scramble for a ball. And oftentimes, if he chooses to jump for it, he's normally not straight up completely missing it. It's messing up something in some way. But he just, like I said, his ability to cover driving lanes, jump passes, and his ball IQ, even if he doesn't have, direct line with the play, even if the play's all the way over here, he's very good at moving over into the paint, helping down on defense, on the post, knocking the ball out of the post hands. And even if they pass out to his guy, his speed, he can run out and still contest a shot very well. And the way he contests is slightly different than most people are taught. He likes to jump to the side. So if the guy's directly in front of him, he likes to jump like this. Not only does that help with, limiting consistent fouls in that type of way, because they are not going to just fall over because you're right next to them. Like, you're on the side of them instead of in front of them. And oftentimes you'll get called for a foul if they fall and you're right in front of them. But also his ability to jump to the side, he can get his hand a little bit closer to the ball as you're shooting it, because he doesn't have to worry about your elbows being out in front of you when you're shooting or stuff like that. He's to the side of you. He can go directly for the ball without worrying about your knees. And he can test a lot of shots. And although he might not be, brilliant at blocking shots, he's very, very good at making shots a lot more difficult than they normally would be. But Jimmy Butler, although he at times has struggled with teams, I don't believe that he was ever the problem. And I think statistically wise, I think he deserves more credit than he has ever received. He gets overlooked a lot, and he's led this Heat team deep in the playoffs twice in the past couple years now. And as we've seen, not only with his teams that called him the Menace, but with his team now, he's taken the lead and he's shown how much he's worth. And I think we're really starting to understand how Jimmy plays, and his work ethic is just something that we don't see very often. But as always, if you enjoyed this video, and even if you'd like to see more videos like this, give me a thumbs up. That way I know that you enjoy this content. Maybe I'll do some more deep dives on individual players instead of, team analysis, which is what I normally do. Maybe, I enjoyed this, so maybe I'll go more in depth with players. And if there's a certain player that you'd like me to go deep dive in, whatever sport it may be, comment that down below if you enjoyed this. I think I did a pretty good job at, analyzing his, not only how he's played recently, but some of the ways that he's fit with other teams. If you really enjoyed this content, or you're coming back on a daily basis anyways, go ahead and subscribe. Not only are you noticed and appreciated, it helps me a lot, but, I'm posting daily, and there's a lot of you that return on a consistent basis but aren't subscribed, so make sure you go scroll down and just check, see if you're subscribed, because I have content daily, NFL, NBA, and NHL content. But as always, I hope I taught you something today. There was a lot of information here, and, a good portion of you guys might have already known, but I think we did a good analysis, so I hope that you learned something. I hope it made you smile, I hope it made you laugh. To something that's really important to me, affect someone else's day in a great way, because truly all of us can have a great day every day if we just all put the effort in. And as always, you guys all be safe out there.